Hey everyone, Jeff here with J Free 906 and the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond live stream. And just a few weeks ago for the season 10 premiere show, we had Matty Blake on with us. Matty did a fantastic job, and we really appreciated him coming on and helping us kick off season 10. What I did was I took that particular portion of that show that night and I put it together into a little briefer section just on Matty Blake and some of the things he's done with Beyond Oak Island and, of course, Drilling Down. So sit back and enjoy this section of that show with special guest Matty Blake. Mr. Matty Blake. Hey, welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody. Greetings.
Hello, Matty.
Hey,
How are
Matty.
you, fellas? Good to see you.
How are you doing?
A little tired, but
You probably stayed up really late last night, didn't you?
yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind this year, but happy to be here.
Oh my gosh. I said earlier before you got here that I think that this season premiere, number 10 here, was the best one of all 10 seasons or 9 seasons leading up to this point. It was the best one in my opinion. It was great.
Yeah, it's Jeff, it's like I think in seasons past, it was still kind of figuring out, okay, which of these areas should we focus on? It is so clear now. The goal is so clear. We know there's precious metal underneath the ground. So it's like, yes, you might still look here. You might still look on this lot. There's interesting things, but it's like the unspoken truth is that that's the thing.
Yep. Yeah, it is. And you know what's weird too, or not weird, but the thing of it is that they showed us in this particular episode, this premiere, they showed us about, and I'm going to bring this map back up real quick, just briefly here, but to look at this to say this is where they were always doing all the looking over here. And now they're doing this looking way over here with the drill holes. Now, some of these were probably popped in there before. And am I right in assuming that this is an area that they really had not looked before this season?
Well, if you remember, there was some interesting things with Shaft 6, and they had made some interesting maneuvers over towards Smith's Cove.
Yes.
Kind of like if you think about heading east, but surely like C1 and OC1 and all that, and H8 was, a little bit further away than that. But if you remember that, here's the amazing part about now this garden shaft area. Number one is, I don't know if you remember this, but in a previous drilling down, Marty actually lowered me down into that shaft in a payloader, like in the bucket, which
I remember that. Yeah.
My producer was not happy with, by the way.
Oh, well.
What are you doing? You're breaking every single law. Like, but I was like, I trust Marty. I've seen how he operates that thing. And, so I did it. And at the time we just thought it was a 19th century searcher shaft. But it's funny. We look back now and I remember literally standing on the ladder and Marty going, feel strong. I was like, these are like doweled in. Like I'm not seeing any nails, nothing. It's like all wood into wood. So that's kind of odd. The other odd thing is, look at that rock garden that Rick built and really thinking he was building it, and he was building it towards the, as a memorial to the women of Oak Island and their involvement. Right. Yep. But I say to him, and you'll see in an upcoming special, I basically say, like, what if you inadvertently built a tribute around where the gold is? Because that seems to be where it's heading, right? You saw the premiere episode. It's like, yes, they might have inadvertently. Can you imagine if that ends up being like the original money pit? And look what he built around it. It would be. Yeah. So stay tuned. We'll find out
I know. We are so excited about that. But you're right, and we kind of as the listener or the people that are watching the show, most of them know I don't speculate at all. In my many speculations,
not you, no, never know.
In my many speculations, I said that once a while back. I said, wouldn't that be funny if that turned out to be like the entrance to the money pit after all these years? Yeah, and so we shall see. We shall see.
Another odd thing is that I got asked about that more than probably almost anything else. People would see it in the orange mesh like around the time they found that shaft, and they had kind of like that orange mesh construction fencing.
Safety fence around it. Yep.
Correct. Yes. And people go, what is that? What is that? What is it? And I kept saying, oh, it's, it's probably nothing. It's benign. Boy, we all might have been very, very wrong. We'll see.
Very, very wrong. It really is. And I tell you, not only with this, but also your drilling down shows that you've been doing and the top 10, finds in the swamp, and all these are very, very good. But the one that was on last night before this episode was one, I think it was amongst the best ones. You took us through, I should say they took you through some different areas around the island. And you guys were standing. Now we've seen many of the pictures that have been taken and spread around the internet about, the now cover that's on top of the garden shaft. They got the yellow cover on top of it now and the guardrail around it and all that. And we saw that behind you as you were there in the money pit. But some of the things that they showed you on that show and then to us, we heard about like the well, lot 26.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's going on lot 26, man? Fill us in.
I mean, and I think you saw at the end of the season premiere episode, a kind of a tease on them addressing that well that they showed me.
Yeah.
So it all gets a little confusing. And so, because, it's all out of sequence, we tease some things that come up later. So I'm always have to be very careful. And of course, I know it as it's happening on the ground there as the summer's progressing. So I have to be really careful, like what I say, because then I forget. I sometimes think like, oh, they know that because it's in the special. And then I'm like, oh no, that's episode like 7. It's not happened yet.
No, we don't want to put you in that position.
No, I know you guys are awesome, but I suffice to say, yeah, you're going to see them address that, and they tease that. Also, the connection possibly between another feature, that wall, and the fact that Tony Sampson and I dove right off of that area. In a drilling down special, and we saw the remnants of that pier just like they had done before with Alex and that dive. And we saw it right off the edge of where that was pretty much. That whole side of the island is very interesting so it speaks to some sort of operation that probably goes beyond cabbage farming. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
And that stone wall that Laird pointed to, and he was very coy and smiling. That's going to come into play also. I'm going to spend some time at that wall in a future drilling down, following up on that. So it's all in play. It's all absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, it was really interesting to note last night that in that episode, and then in the season, or in the episode 1 for the season, that one of the 3 properties that were talked about most were all owned by Samuel Ball.
He keeps coming up, and it's like when he started really coming up time and time again, the further we looked into his name and the possible connections of what he might have done and known, maybe found, to literally find his name on something, a tag. It was almost like, I remember saying to Gary, it's almost like he's calling us from beyond, going, hey, don't forget me. I'm a huge part of this story. So it's he's hard to ignore him.
He's a fascinating guy for sure.
And Henry here, to his credit, he has been doing a lot of research and going back in time, all the way back as far as he can, looking into the lot owners over the years.
A little bit.
And Henry, I'm sure you've noticed how many of them were Freemasons. How many lot owners on Oak Island were Freemasons? It's freaky.
The only thing they needed was their own clubhouse.
Well, I found it interesting how many were from the Boston area. Early Seacombe, Prescott, Melvin, they're all from Boston.
Yeah. And that kind of feeds into some of the revolutionary theories.
Right. Court Lindahl and his Revolutionary War theory. Absolutely. Yeah. And Court's here tonight too, by the way. He's watching with us.
Hello, Court.
Great work.
Yep. Absolutely. The other thing I wanted to mention, I know you're limited on time, so I wanted to get this one in. And I know you can't tell us too much, but when Gary handed you the little white box?
Everyone's asking about the little white box.
I know you can't tell us what's in it.
Okay.
I mean, were you as wiped out as you appeared to be when you saw this thing? I mean, I don't know what it was, but
So like, first of all, let me say that everyone's like, Matty, how could you do that? I'm like, I wasn't the one holding the, like, I was holding the box, kind of looking at it, but I was like, it wasn't my call not to show anything. Trust me. I was, I'm constantly, my poor producers, I'm like, can we just show them? Why are we doing, and, of course, then we don't want to blow it in the season pre-special, but, I can tell you this, like I mentioned in that thing, the cash coin, because we did that last year and people yelled at me for that last year.
Yep.
And I was going, how old is this, Gary? Because I knew it was very old. I'm not a coin expert, I can't say the word pneumologist. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I knew it was old. It didn't take a real expert to know that thing was old with the square hole in the middle. And I'd seen some coins like that before in books and things like that Gary has and in some of his previous work. So I'm like, is this thing as old as I think it is? And that's, we're looking at it. And then this is a very similar type of moment where I'm going like, is that as old and different as I think it might be? And what I can tell you is you will know it when you see it.
Oh, good.
When you watch this season, there will be a moment and you go, Matty and Jeff, you can message me and say that was it, wasn't it? And I will say yes. That's all I can tell you.
Will.
It's going to jump off the screen that much. It's going to jump off the island that much.
Wow, that's awesome! I can't wait. I can't wait for that. I wanted to tell you too that Jess Grollo is here. She's in the chat. You met Jess when you were doing Poverty Island, and those are awesome too, by the way.
Yes.
I actually got to meet her. She was on the show. She came and helped us. When we do the Beyond Oak Island episodes, we often, Jan Anderson, one of our admins, she goes out and asks these people if they would come on our show with us.
Awesome.
And they have. Every one of them has come on and talked with us. And Jess came on. Mike was busy. He works for the sheriff's department. He got called out. But Jess came on, and then I went up to Escanaba because I'm a Youper. I see you got a UP on your shirt. I love that.
Boom, representing my new people.
Yep. And so, because Rick said he's going to make you an honorary Youper. Well, I'm a Youper, but I'm from the eastern Upper Peninsula, and they're from the western side. But anyway, so I drove over to Escanaba. Jess was at a craft show over there, and I drove over, and I met her in person, and I got to meet Mike. Wonderful people. So I wanted to give a shout out. There she is. There. Oh, Mike is here too. All right. Yeah. So there's Jess.
Hey guys, I missed you already. I absolutely fell in love with the Upper Peninsula when I first went there a few years back. Got to spend some time with Marty. And I've been going to Michigan for years, but I hadn't been to the UP until a few years ago, and fell in love with it. The people of the Upper Peninsula are a lot like the people where I'm from, in and around Boston. It's a working class, hardworking, tough, but loving. They might seem tough on the exterior, and they're not like super friendly maybe to people who are from the outside, but once you're in, you're in. Like you go to California, I was like, hey bro, what are you doing? You don't quite get that at UP. You don't quite get that where I'm from in Massachusetts.
Right.
But when you're in, like you're a brother and a sister, and that's how they are. So I immediately hit it off with them. I immediately loved them. I hope they felt the same way. And Mike and Jess are just awesome. Rick always says, somebody knows something locally. Always talk to the locals.
Yep.
Because somebody knows something. Somebody has the 90-foot stone in their basement, let's say, right? Yep. And so I've always taken that to heart when I go on the road for Beyond. I learned more about Mel Fisher talking to the bartender at night at the bar who knew him. True story. Told me stuff that I can't tell on the air, but helped me really understand who he was and what that family's about and how much good they did in that community and things like that. So Mike and Jess are the ultimate examples of that, like right where we were looking all this time, taking 3 cracks at it, but it was Jess and Mike who just lived there and experienced it and knew so much. They were right there, right in front of us, and we almost missed them. So they're the ultimate example of speak to the locals. They know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And she is wonderful. She was telling me stories of, she told me a story about when they were filming where she got caught, or her pants got caught on one of the.
She's hilarious. She is hilarious. And what's really funny, they have a funny dynamic. Like we'll say to Mike, like, I'm just making this up, but we'll be like, oh, it'll be a night dive in frigid water. And he'll go, yeah. And she'll be like, he's doing it. Like, he's doing it. She's
Throw
awesome.
him out there, get him in it. Yeah, for sure. Oh, but yeah, really cool people. So yeah, I guess you're wearing it. So you're honorary Youper. So welcome.
Love it.
Yeah. You got to start saying A when you get done, on the end of sentences.
Got it.
So yeah,
got it.
But yeah, glad to have you really. And I really appreciate your coming on tonight. So I know you're limited on time. So when you got to go, just let me know. And
Colleen going to text me here when the next call's up. So we're okay for a little bit.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah. I got it right here.
I mean, this season, everybody, and I have to admit, part of the end, I'll say the part of the second half of season 9 got a little ho-hum. I mean, everybody was so pumped about the caissons going down. And we got one. And then when they had a 5th one, we're all excited. Oh, a 5th one's going in. This might be the one. And then nothing. They really didn't find anything. And now we see why, because they were basically in the wrong area. Yeah. So we think so far from what we've seen last night. But this season, I mean, I'm starting off, and you see the look on everyone's faces. And last night, Dustin and Deidre had Laird and Scott and Steven on last night, and you see their faces about when they're talking about stuff. I mean, I got a feeling that we're in for a treat this season. What do you think? I mean, is that
there's 2 moments for me that really I look at as complete game changers, and it was Gary finding the cross and the testing of the cross, I think. And think what you want about it, and who knows if it'll come into play in the grand scheme of things. But I just feel like that really kind of sent shockwaves through the island. And the other was that moment with Dr. Spooner. Do you believe there's precious metal underground on Oak Island? No, I'm quite serious. Do you believe that moment, ever since then, I said it last year too, to be honest, I really did. I was like, there's a different energy this year. Everyone's smiling. There's a lot of Cheshire grins, which wasn't there before. Right. It was always good cheer and hopeful and let's go get it. But there was this kind of like, oh, we're on this thing. You could feel it, and you can feel it this year too. They are truly, truly, truly getting closer. They're following a trail of gold. Yes. I mean, they really are. So how could you not sense that and be excited? And I mean, it's amazing.
And yeah, there's Tony. Tony's out there tonight too. He's checking things out.
Tony Sampson?
Yeah, Tony Sampson.
My mate.
Yeah, your mate.
Oh my God.
You better say hi to him, because you might need him someday.
Tony. I love Tony Sampson like a brother, a mentor, a friend. He's taught me. I mean, imagine like you start doing something. Let's say you start like, I'm going to start learning how to throw a football, and you happen to be friends with Tom Brady. Like that's how it was with me in diving. Like I start diving 4 years ago, and I'm friends with Tony Sampson. So it's like I learned so much so fast. And man, is he just he's the most interesting man in the world. He does it all. He rescues people. He's just the best. Hi, brother.
Yep. Yeah. He said, that when he has his work that he does away from Oak Island, and this is what I was talking about earlier when he first showed up in the chat, is that man could do his own TV show about searching for shipwrecks and stuff.
Definitely.
And he could absolutely dive on them. I would watch it. We'd be talking about it right here on the show. I mean, every episode. I think he's the right personality, and he's such a great diver and just a great guy. I've never met him in person, but these two guys, Tony and Tom and Henry have. Yep. They've met Tony. I haven't met him yet. I haven't been up there yet.
He's
a
fantastic
we had a boat
storyteller.
tour with Tony last year.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
It was awesome. It
was
really good.
I've been so blessed to go out on the road with him now a few times in the Beyond journeys. More to come too with Tony. So just a dream guy to be on the road with, a true brother and friend. Absolutely. If you have Tony on in the future, have him tell the car keys Cape Cod story. Okay. Just ask him about that. We can tell that in the future.
All right.
It's an adventure that him and I had together. I'll let him tell it sometime when he's on the show, but make a note to ask him about Matty and the car keys, and he'll tell you.
Deal. All right. Speaking of diving, I mean, in some of the Beyond Oak Island episodes, now you've had the opportunity to actually dive yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When I think you dove, it was was it the second time out at Poverty Island? Did you dive
Michigan?
on that?
Yeah, I dove in Michigan. Yep. Unbelievable to dive Lake Michigan. Like, I mean, that was the clearest dive I had because I trained in a quarry, and then it was ocean dive, and okay visibility, but Lake Michigan was beautiful. Although we did kind of stir things up down there when we thought we saw something, we pulled it up and then we lost visibility for a little while. But what a beautiful dive! Oh my gosh, yeah, cold. Cold.
Yeah.
I had a 7mm wetsuit, and my ankles were blue. I had a little gap between my boots, and my ankles are pretty blue. Cool. So, but it was awesome.
Oh yeah, I can imagine, because that water is just, I don't know about Lake Michigan. I haven't been, I've been in Superior several times. And even if it's 90 degrees, Lake Superior is still freezing cold. I don't care.
Yeah, it was chilly.
I'm from up in Ontario, and I live right by Lake Ontario. And I tell you, even in the hottest parts of the summer, it's still cold. It's still cold to go swimming in Lake Ontario. So I can imagine what that felt like deep down in Lake Michigan.
Yeah, it got chilly, but it was exhilarating. I'd love to do it again.
Yeah, and you're looking for treasure. I mean, come on.
So fun. Yeah, and then to be there when Mike and Jess found what they found was an absolute thrill. Like, to watch that story unfold, like, oh, it's two ships and one's on top of the other. We're like, I'm looking at Rick. You can even see it. They showed it on the episode. I'm looking at Rick going like, are you kidding me? Like, I think I said a swear that they didn't show. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, this doesn't happen like this. You know, it's like, doesn't usually happen like that.
And then the chest, they mentioned the chest. And you were like, you grabbing the mic. What was that? Come again?
Did you just say chest? Yeah. And stay tuned. More to come on that too.
That's great. Mm-hmm. That was a good episode.
Thank you so much.
That's one of those things where I need to get more information on. Now, you went out to the Atocha, you were out there diving, or you didn't dive on the Atocha, but I mean, that would be another experience to be able to go down with Melvin and dive on that. We've had Melvin, he came on the show and kind of took us through that. Wow. I mean, how do you get a job like yours?
Well, it's funny. I actually did dive off camera at the end. Yeah. It was a quick dive. I bailed at I was down there for like 2 minutes. I just wanted to see the hole. I wanted to see the hole. So I threw on a tank. It was Captain Tim's gear.
Yep.
I went down. I was exhausted, sunburnt. It was at the end of a long week. And it was pretty currenty for me. And, so I was just like, all right, that's good. I didn't want to slow them down. I'm like, those guys, this isn't like a recreational dive where you're just like, hey, let's try and find this metal and run the metal. Like they run that blower. It's an archaeological, basically, procedure. It's a dusting. It's an excavation. And when you've got someone like me who's been diving for 3-4 years, flopping around down there, it's just I can do much better work on the comms, reacting with the camera there, communicating with them. So that's why I sometimes don't dive when it's a really refined operation like that. And it's a bit above my pay grade. I let the experts do it. Now, if it's like me and Tony, if we went back to, let's say, Lake Michigan and we're looking for those boxes again, I would probably demand to go in. You know what I mean? But these type of dives, like 17-15, I don't dive that because those guys, again, they freaking throw those tanks on. They're down, they're up, they're down. They've got it down to a science. They're like a military operation. Boom, boom, boom. It's like, I don't want to be flopping around down there, So I did get to go down, saw the hole, came right back up. So that was pretty awesome to say that I at least was in the water at the Atocha site. And then we did a little, it won't be shown on cameras, but we did a celebratory jump off the boat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Maddie should give a shout out to Donna McCauley. She's here watching tonight too.
Oh, Donna McCauley.
I love Donna and Gypsy so much. You might remember them trying to find that Sam Bass gold. And
from your time in the cooler.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Yes, Donna is just talking about great people. I mean, I hear people say things like this in interviews, and I'm like, but now I'm one of them, and I truly mean it. Like, meeting the people I've met is the absolutely best part of this whole thing. Like Tony Sampson, Mike and Jess, Donna and Gypsy. These people are the greatest. They're just salt of the earth, hard workers, beautiful people in beautiful places and beautiful parts of the country that I've fallen in love with that I never would have gone to. I never would have gone, to Mineral Springs, Texas, probably.
So is there any particular place that if you had to say, okay, Matty, you've been to all these places and I'm going to give you 2 or 3 choices this year, which ones you want to go back to, your personal favorites? Is there any ones you can pick out that would that would kind of jump out at you and say, yeah, this is one or two of these places where I really want to go?
I'll give you two, Tom. It's a great question. And again, truly, not just saying love them all, but the two that popped in mind is, I want to get back in Lake Michigan in a warm time. Marty and I hung out at his place, and it was like being in the Caribbean. Like, it was just so gorgeous. I want to do that again, and see Mike and Jess. The other one that comes to mind right away is Newfoundland. And Newfoundland in July is like, again, you think you're in the Caribbean. There's dolphins, like it's like a paradise. The water's actually swimmable. It's gorgeous. So I think maybe another trip to Newfoundland I would love to do. It's like it's like being in Ireland, with the people are so incredibly friendly. And it's as beautiful as Ireland, and at other times it looks like you're in Greece or something. These cliffs, and you're like, where? It's not what I expected. It is gorgeous. St. John's is a gorgeous city. Fell in love with the people in that place too. So, as a matter of fact, stay tuned. There might be more new places.
There you go. There's
I've
our
been to
teaser for
St.
tonight.
John's. It's beautiful there.
Oh.
Tony was just saying that Altosha dive was a trip. The trip was a bucket lift kickoff. So so glad you were there, mate.
Yeah.
I got emotional on that trip, because if you watch that on, when we to be able to, see Tony, a man, live out his dream to die. He had talked about the Atocha when we first met.
Wow.
Like, when we first met and we were just hanging out, he had mentioned the Atocha someday to dive on that with the fishes, and then to be there to see that, a master at his craft, get to live that out, a childhood dream. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And the fact that we found coins and found actual silver treasure.
I know. And being now, being inducted in as a fellowship, part of the fellowship now, which has got to be an honor in itself, right?
Incredible. I mean, that is, unexpected, unnecessary, but also, I remember I said to Rick and Marty, I said to Rick and Marty off camera, I said, I might not feel like I deserve whatever, but I said, what it means to me. And they both said, that's why we did it.
Yeah.
That's why we did it.
You deserve it.
You definitely earned your stripes, and you've earned the trust of those guys too. So
thank you, Tom.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I say about it when we talk about the show, because I've had people come to me and say, "Oh, they planted the cross, they planted this." I said, "No." I said, "How can you be sure?"
Well, people, it's so funny. People who complain about it, it's the same people. They'll go, because I see the same names, and so like 1 month it'll be like, "Oh, it's fake, they planted it," and then like a few months later, like, when's anything ever going to be found? When are you going to find something? I'm like, well, which is it? Because like, if we were planning things, don't you think we'd do more?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's absolutely. And I just, and I said, no, because when you watch the show over the years, like most all of us have that are watching here tonight, you know that you get the feel for every single one of these guys, including Rick, especially Rick Lagina, and the integrity that man has.
I'll close with this, because I just got the text.
Okay, all right.
When you talk about that, I just view it like, we all have our moments when we're cynical and doubtful and all that. We're human beings. We're complex. We have all sides of everything. But there's basically two ways to go through life, and it's cynical. Yeah, there's nothing there. Nah, they're wasting their time. And then there's, why wouldn't I? As C.S. Lewis says, don't dare not to dare. Like, why wouldn't I look? How could you hear that story and not look? Maybe it's there. Let's go. And me personally, I love those type of people.
Yep.
I love the latter. And the cynicism is easy, and the snarkiness is easy. And it just bores me. And I just don't really gel with those type of people. So everyone involved, the Oak Island universe, is that type of person. You guys, I can tell you're that type of person. You hear a story like this, you latch onto it like a dog. And you're just like, let's go. And yes, it's frustrating. And yes, you want it to be solved tomorrow. And yes, who doesn't want to find a chest of gold? Of course we do. Of course, everyone does. But it doesn't work like that sometimes. These things are hard. And so it's taking what it's taking. And that is, in this case, 10 years.
Right. Yeah.
And
somebody asked, is there going to be a season 11? And I know you probably can't answer that question, but I don't know if anybody can answer that question yet. We do. We hope so. I mean, we want, I think, and most of us, and I've said it before, yes, we'd love to see a big, Gerhardt truckload of gold and silver come up out of there. But Do we want answers to the story? Yes.
That's it.
Why,
That's the other thing. It's the other thing. If we let's say, just for sake of argument, they found a huge chest of gold and silver chains and everything, but it's like somehow unidentifiable. It's all different mixes of Portuguese gold, and we still don't know who did it and why. Like, how frustrating would that be? It would be amazing because you could pay the money, but so it is. It's like the story, the history of the story. As far as the season 11, I can only promise you this, and this is a promise, guarantee, and you know it's true. At the end of the season, I will be sitting with Rick and Marty, and I will directly ask them, "Are we coming back?" Okay. That is a guarantee, and I'm hoping there's a huge chest of treasure on the table when I do it.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I just hope it's not an empty box and it's got an IOU in it from Sam Ball.
Suckers.
Yeah, suckers. Had a great time. Well, Matty, thank you so very much for coming on here and helping us kick off season 10. It's been my pleasure and my honor to have you on the show. Thank you so much, sir.
Well,
thank you, Matty.
Henry, Tom, Jeff, the brothers know you're out there. They know fans like you exist. It keeps them going. They truly do appreciate it, and so do I. And keep the faith, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Matty.
Have a great night.